I'm Jim Collison and live from the Gallup Studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup Strengths Explorer series recorded on April 11th, Micah's birthday, 2019. Strengths Explorer is a podcast series that dives deep into the 10 talent themes of the Clifton Youth Strengths Explorer tool. Designed for adults who are interested in accepting, affirming, and growing the individual potential within a child, the series expands the language to describe what is right and strong. Those are two key words in what we're doing for children ages 10 to 14, and that can go on either side of that a little bit. To further your understanding, check out Gallup's book, Strength-Based Parenting, available wherever books are sold, or you can get it right from our site, shop.gallup.com. And today's theme is relating. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strength Center while you're at it. GallupStrengthsCenter.com for all your Clifton Strengths coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and both downloadable audio. We call that podcasting. It's available for you. All the cool kids are doing it. It's available off the coach's blog. If you need any help with that, head over to coaching.gallup.com. If you can't get that figured out, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, and we'll get right back to you. Micah Liburn is our host today. Micah is a workplace consultant here at Gallup. Micah, always great to see you. Really great to see you this week. Happy birthday to you, and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jim. Gosh, this is always the best part of my week and definitely best way to celebrate a birthday. Can you believe we made it 10 of 10 themes?
I know. I remember when we started thinking about this last year and kind of thinking, should we do this? Is this something we could do? We didn't ask for permission. We just kind of scheduled it and started doing it. It's been pretty popular, and we continue to get a lot of feedback on it through the channels that we do. If this is the first time you're catching this, we have 9 others that we've done, and then a 10th that's kind of our opening kickoff session. Next week we'll have Mary Reckmeyer, who's the author of Strength-Based Parenting, on the podcast, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Today we're talking about relating. It is the 10th theme in that. Micah, why don't you give us a little rundown on it?
So relating is the friendship theme. When you've got a kid with high relating, they probably enjoy starting friendships. They might also enjoy keeping friendships for a long time, widening their social circle. There's a lot of ways to be good at relating. It might be that your child has that ease of making a first connection with somebody. It might be that they're really great at caring for the depth and longevity of sort of long-standing relationships. It also might be that they do both of those, or 12 other different ways that you can be really great at relating. I think the common thread that this theme has is it's about connecting with people and caring for that connection.
Yeah, I love this idea. I love to see this in our internship groups, or even in groups of children, as you start seeing those connectors, right? You start seeing those kids who really understand that as humans, we connect well. Now, they would never say it this way, but they understand we're connected. And so they start putting things together. As we think about strength spotting, right? There's a chapter on this in the book, Strengths-Based Parenting. When we think about strength spotting or looking for it, what kind of things could we be looking for?
Usually when you've got a kid with relating, they might not be the first person to run out the door. They'll probably wait for somebody else to come with them. They might also be that kid who invites somebody else, takes another kid by the hand and says, let's go together. These are kids whose days are colored by their friends. Being around other people really energizes them. They've got that strong, I think, external radar. Their interactions with their friends are going to have an effect on them. So look for the kid who just maybe seems to easily speak others' languages. Maybe it's someone who has a secret handshake with their best friend, or someone who naturally connects with adults, with teachers, with parents. That social connectability really describes relating. Now, you've heard us, if you've listened to all 10, you've also heard us describe presence, which really is just about that initial spark and the spotlight piece of it. That might be similar to the social courage of relating, but relating does not have to have an audience. Relating might be the person sitting next to you in the audience. I also think it's similar to the caring theme. So we heard about caring being, I want to offer myself to someone else. Relating is, I want to have that offering kind of returned. It's about being not just caring for people, not just thinking about acts of service, but thinking about the connection there. And again, caring for and taking great care and curating a really great connection. Typically, when you're dealing with kids with high relating, people really like them. These are the kids who probably are going to grow up to be adults that are described as people. So they, without quoting Disney without music rights, I had to write this sentence. They want to be where the people are. They'll thrive around friends. They're always open to making and creating friends. They probably pay attention to other kids pretty closely, not necessarily to try and compete with them or imitate them, but always looking for those opportunities to make a connection. They're probably, you'll notice that they're more animated and they're more happy when they're interacting with friends.
Michael, one of the things that I notice all the time about students like this, and maybe even me in some regards, is they also are the last ones out of the room. So when you you go to pick up the kids at daycare and you can't get them out. And it's not because they're playing, it's because they're talking or they're spending time with others, or they want to be the last ones. They want to be there to talk to people. They're the ones who just want to spend that time. They don't want to leave that. So as an adult, how else would we relate to this talent?
We mentioned it's a people person theme. So it's pretty easy to see, I think, the connection between this and our relationship building talents. Now, let's remember that the Clifton Strengths themes are not simply just more detailed versions of the Strengths Explorer themes. So they're not necessarily going to take a relating child and make sure that they grow up to be a relator, or that they grow up to have a lot of other sort of relationship building themes. You can mature in many, many different ways. Children with relator could eventually mature into so many different styles of being a people person. I think the long definition also helps us understand maybe the more classic relator and woo, if you think about Clifton Strengths language, whereas children with relating really might have elements of both, or they might have elements of one or the other. Instead of just trying to figure out, gosh, which of the Clifton Strengths themes is this? Let's just think about a better way, maybe more inclusive way, that we could just attack that idea of, how do I see myself, regardless of what my adult themes are, reflected in a child with a strong relating presence. So to do that, I think consider the relationship in your life that gives you energy. Maybe there's a whole bunch of them, but think about that person who, when you're with them, they change the rest of your day. Kids with high relating have that kind of internal connection to external partners all day long, all the time. They love it. They thrive on it. They seek it. So whether or not you are a relationship building person, whether or not your dominant talents really lie there, whatever relationship you do have that affects you, imagine that being really the lens with which every relating kid kind of sees the world. They are affected by and delighted in those relationships they have with others. Being around them for others, for kids with high relating, being around others is like having that mutual battery charge. I don't know if this exists. It will someday in technology, but imagine being able to maybe hold your phone up to somebody else's phone and they both go to 100%. They feel charged and they leave others experiencing that boost by having that opportunity to really share the space with other people.
Joey in the chat room says, what I love about my neighbor who has this is that he's our mayor at age 11. He lets us know about gatherings. He's lively and comfortable around all ages.
Yeah.
I love that idea of that word mayor.
Mayor.
We use that in English in the United States. We use that term when someone is kind of in not like a governor or not like a boss or a leader or a manager. A mayor is like someone who brings the neighborhood together, right? It brings a community together. Kind of see it that way.
So, in the fighter pilot world, the mayor is basically the social chair.
Yeah, no, right
might
on.
fit there too.
Yeah, and I've heard people use that term when there's someone in a social setting or in a group that is the glue that holds the whole group together. We'll call them Mr. or Mrs. Mayor, right? And or they're just the mayor. What other words? What are the describing words, Micah? These kids hear these things, right? We say these things. What words can we use?
I think ways we can describe that also affirm children with relating talent is friendly, social, open, maybe charming. Again, don't confuse it with presence. It's not necessarily about the theatrics or the drama of presence. Warm, sincere, connector, genuine. I don't know if this is even a phrase that works, but I tried social conduit, gracious, Likable, approachable, generous, inclusive. I toyed with even using the word popular. If you've got a positive connotation around popular, that's usually pretty true. You might use that word carefully, maybe say likable or approachable, but whatever works for you. It really describes that kid who really thrives among making connections with other people.
Generous is a word I like, and generous with time,
Mm,
generous with their time. If our time is a commodity, in that we buy and sell and trade and give away, I think people here have that ability to give their time to other people. I will be there, building those relationships or moving those groups. Pretty cool. So with this information, now that we've done this, what as adults, what can we do? What can we do with it once we have it?
I think, as with all children, it's important for us to first identify their currency and then exchange some of ours so we can better trade and engage with them. Relating children deal in the currency of connection. So study their connections, celebrate them, and uncover how they make them. That is an investment in your kid's talent. Maybe you do that by having some great questions other than just how was your day. Um, this is, I think, rapidly becoming the most popular section of our podcast. So here's a couple questions that you could ask a relating child. Who are your best friends? What do you do together? What are some of the talents you notice in your friends? What did you learn from someone else? Who did you play with today? What's most important to you in a relationship? What superpower do you bring to your partnerships or to your friends? Who is your sidekick? Whose sidekick are you? And what do you do together? And lastly, who should we invite to play with us?
I love that idea of a sidekick, and I like the question, who are you the sidekick for? Like,
Mhm.
having that sidekick, if you're Batman and Robin, I think I love the idea, who are you the Robin for in that relationship,
Yeah.
and it just gets that, and I think even in children, we drive a culturally, we drive to be the best or to be number one or to be out front.
Mm.
And it took me a long time in my own career, but I realized I'm a much better number two. I'm a better sidekick than I am the. If I'm not the sidekick, am I the kick? So is that how that works?
A
Just be,
sidekick. You just made this about choreography instead of superhero, but I'll follow it.
we once we know this, how can we affirm it? So what kind of things can we do to affirm this?
I think primarily get to know their friends. Ask your kid about their relationships. Honor that talent by letting them talk about what's going on with other kids. Listening to this kid is going to be affirming them. So I would even say just spend more time letting them describe and let you into their world. Don't worry too much about offering advice unless they explicitly ask for it. I also encourage adults who are loving and leading, relating children to avoid that temptation to see that external interest as a lack of internal strength or internal control. It is a choice and it is a delight that they have where they connect first, maybe with others. The more plain way of saying this is there are some kids who are going to be swayed by the crowd and want to go where the crowd is and really connect and support and uplift that crowd. And that in and itself is huge strength. Another way you can affirm a relating child is to explore the specific uniqueness of their relating. So, relating describes that social partnership, but it can manifest in so many different ways. It can also manifest within one child in multiple ways. So, get to know how your kid best interacts and then set a great space for that interaction. You might think about relating showing up in the kid who has one best friend. If that's the child that you are affirming, then set up a play date with just them where they really get that isolated, brilliant time. Or maybe join some after school activities that one best friend is involved in. Maybe it even just means showing up early to school because your one best friend is there, 15 minutes before the bell rings and you get that special sacred time together. If your kid on the opposite side of that maybe thrives on, say, meeting new people, then make sure you're spending time in parks on large teams or at tournaments or at get-togethers, or as Joey says here in the chat room, make them the mayor of your neighborhood. maybe a different take on this, maybe your kid is really at their best when they are helping other people feel included. So find ways for them to be an outreach specialist. Maybe that's recruiting kids to join the speech team, or finding new people to sit with them at lunch.
Kelly in the chat room says, when I ask my granddaughter how she's doing, she likes to tell me about what friends or cousins she's been playing with and what they've been and what they did, right? And I love that sharing those. That's what's important, right? Who have I been at? Who have I been hanging with? What did we do, right? In that.
When you're dominant in relationship building talent, whether you're an adult or a kid, it really describes the lens with which you see and perceive the world. So you are going to think about victory through the victory of others. You're going to experience joy as a ripple effect of how other people are joyous around you. You're going to think about having a good day or a bad day based on the days that other people had and what you picked up on. You might even have a better day if you can get closer to those people. So I think you're already doing some fantastic strength spotting. If you can think about, gosh, this is how a kid I know and love talks. It's probably because it's what they're uniquely tuned into. And it's just a question of how do you kind of find where that tune is and then give it a microphone, amplify it.
Oh, that's super great. During the season, we've been doing this Go Do It challenge. It's kind of funny. Mark, who's our editor on this, the very first webcast that we did around this, we jammed that word together. He edited it. I'm like, no. We intended to put it's the Go Do It challenge, right?
But again, that's why we love Mark, because he doesn't let me get away with any mistakes. And poor Mark saw Go Do It. I'll shove together as one word. I mean, Jim, seriously, how egotistical are you and I to think we can just create a brand new word?
But we did. We did. It's been a Go Do It challenge for this series, and it's available on the post for this. If you're listening to the recorded version of it, we have put this in a blog post. If you head to coaching.gallup.com, just search for this theme or any of the themes that are out there, and you see the Go Do It challenge. We'll post them to Instagram as well, at Strengths Talk. If you want to follow Micah on Instagram, we'll put it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/called2coach. That's important that you follow us out there. But on this Go Do It challenge, Micah, what do you have for us today?
So this is our challenge. It'll be 2 additional items. Remember, when you get your StrengthsExplorer results, it has action items for parents and students as well. But these specifically are 2 items that we want to unify around the globe of everybody who's focusing on relating this week. So pick one of these and try it over the next 7 days. The first one is called Nail the Introduction. And the challenge is to, together with your child, learn and practice a killer handshake. You can use the practice too. At first I thought, how much better could you get? My 3-year-old does this. But no, I don't care how old you are, you can get better at your introduction. So I want you to talk about, what is a great introduction? What's a great handshake look like? Maybe even what's the most appropriate for whatever culture you're in right now. And what does that sound like? And then you go practice it on your own, have your kid go practice it during the day, and come back every night for 7 nights and talk about what you did and how it went. A couple specifics, if you're going to go the handshake route, talk about making eye contact, about being web to web. So, your hands go web to web. This is the web, the little in between your thumb and your forefinger, and repeat the other person's name. Hi, Jim. I'm Micah. It's nice to meet you. And so really thinking about how can you nail that and how can you practice it over and over again. The little side note, little personal detour in this story here. My 3-year-old probably has some relating tendencies. I don't know if it's going to manifest as relating or presence or caring or something else, but he loves talking to strangers. I mean, adores it. And we had to very quickly teach him how to introduce himself, because he would just go up to people and start playing with them. And without that sort of, I think, here's opening the book, you just jump into chapter 7 with him because he has no social fear. He came across as a little weird. And so it was a little bit awkward. And so we had to teach him, hi, this is my name. What's your name? And just with that little sort of skill, it amplified that natural talent to be able to say, I care about you. I see you. I want to play with you. Number 2 for the Go Do It challenge is very simply play with your friends. I think that this is a great reminder that life can get really hectic and we can get so used to doing things that we forget to nurture the people that we're doing those things with. So once this week, do something that's simply in the service of a social connection. rather than the activity itself. Maybe you set up a play date for your kids. Maybe you show up with your kid to cheer on one of their friends in an activity that their friend's involved in. Maybe you just make a date to have lunch with your favorite group. Or if you drive a carpool, maybe you drive the long way around and just listen to what happens in the backseat. But really, number 2 is about just slowing down and making time to play with other people you care about.
I love that idea of slowing down a little bit to listen. In these, I think you're going to get some clues for your child or for the children that you're working with based on some of the things they say. And last night we had the opportunity, I run a high school internship program here for Gallup. And last night I had the opportunity for some of the students, the high school students, to come in and sign their offer letters for the summer, which is always great. It's always fun to tell parents just how great their students are.
Yeah.
For many of these students, it's the first time. This is their first real full-time job. And we have them sign an offer letter and let them keep the pen. We make a big deal about it. It's, like it's a signing day for it. But one of them brought their little 4-year-old sister in with them, daughter. And Delilah was her name. She was just delightful is what she was. And during the course of the evening, just in the few minutes I saw her, there was no doubt she had this connection. She was comfortable talking to me. She was comfortable in the room. She was, she was asking me some questions, which was super great. And at the end, I got a chance to have a little bit, for 4-year-old, but a little bit of a conversation with her. And she was just super comfortable in making those connections. And I said, hey, 10 years from now, would you come back and work for me? Would that be okay? And she's like, yes. So I have a future Get Hip student 10 years from now.
This is recruiting talent, what you're seeing here.
That's what I do. Always trying to fill the pipeline, but
always be closing.
Exactly. Always be talking. That's my thing. Always be asking questions. But I think that's the essence of it in some ways is that ability to make those connections, to be a part of it, which is super cool to see. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on in Delilah. So it's just not one thing, but it was a super cool. Oftentimes at that age, if they don't have that, they won't talk or they'll shy away. From the very first second she came in, she shook my hand. I put my hand out and she shook it. And I thought, okay, this is game on. Let's do this thing. And super. It's funny. Mom was always concerned about, be quiet. I'm like, no, this is fine. Like let her be her. That there's nothing she can destroy here. And so just this great opportunity to see it, but you have to listen for it. You've got to be willing and open to letting that kind of thing happen. And it would have been easy to let the agenda of getting her brother to sign this, get the information out to him, all those other things. But we had this really delightful moment where I just got to connect with her. So it's pretty cool. Micah, as we wrap up both this theme and the series, some final thoughts.
We'll have a great opportunity on April 15th to really close out the series with Dr. Mary Reckmeyer, who's going to be our guest here. But I think, Jim, something you just said about Delilah, it kind of wraps up why I love this series. And you said there's a lot going on within her. And gosh, there's a lot going on within all of us. If we can have better conversations sooner about all the lot that's going on, then we get to, I think, control it a little bit and grow it and make sure that we're seeing the best sides of it. And from a very early opportunity, get to talk about what's amazing and what's hopeful and how can you help other people that you're going to meet who also have a lot going on. So as somebody who's attempted to use, before I came to Gallup, I really was attempting to use all 34 CliftonStrengths themes to spot strength in children. And it was difficult because I didn't know all 34. But even if you have 10, you can focus on, you don't have to prescribe them. And it gives you some language to describe the lot that's going on and to really affirm that and grow it and help other people understand how to interact with it as well. So this has been a really, really fun series. And I especially love the relating theme. I like the connections there. I think it's important as we leave relating that we remember it's not just relator. It's not just the specific version that we think of as adults, but it's so many things that have to do with friends. Really, the purpose of this podcast is, as we mentioned, to improve the conversations that we have with and about children. So special thanks to everybody who's been a part of this, to our really fun, small but mighty dedicated chat group of everybody who showed up live throughout this. If this has been your first experience diving into some of our talent-based podcasts, I'm so excited for you, because it's kind of like discovering a good series on Netflix that's about halfway over. You have a treasure trove of existing bingeable material. So there's a lot out there for you. Please stay connected to us. Also, big thanks to Jerlene Mosley and Dr. Mary Reckmeyer and Johnny Leesfeld, who helped me translate a little bit of our wording so that it meant more in kid language. We appreciate that as well.
I'll date myself in the future by saying this. We're a lot better than Game of Thrones. So thank you for binging on these. And of course, that's really popular right now, and a new series that's coming out. But we appreciate that. Looking forward to the wrap next week. And if you're catching this, maybe you're catching this in 2020 or 2021, that entire series is available for you. I want to make sure you join us in our groups. If you just search Strengths Explorer on YouTube, you'll see all the videos that we've done, and they're available for you out there as well. I'll remind you to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center for this, GallupStrengthsCenter.com. I'll also say we'll be breaking them in the website. I should have finished that sentence. We'll be breaking Strengths Explorer away from the Gallup Strength Center this year, and its own URL will become even more important to you. So StrengthsExplorer.com, if you put that all together, that would be available for you, and that's where you want to go out to get these resources. If you have questions about anything that we do, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Of course, we record all of these, and they're available for you off our coaches blog. Go to coaching.gallup.com. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup certified strengths coach, we've talked a little bit about that. You can see all the courses that lead to that, plus a whole bunch of other training. If you are looking for training and education, we are the place to get it done. Courses.gallup.com will get you there as well. If you're just joining us for the first time live and you're like, oh man, or you're like, gosh, I wish I could join the live show, I never know what's going on, you should follow us at Eventbrite. So go to gallup.eventbrite.com. And if you're like, Jim, this is too fast, just pause the video or the audio for a second, go back 15 seconds. It's recorded for you there as well. Gallup.eventbrite.com. We have a really cool summit that is coming up. The Clifton Strengths Summit is coming up here to June 3rd, 4th, and 5th of 2019. CliftonStrengthsSummit.com. There's still room, but it's going pretty fast. I think we're going to sell out of that thing here pretty quick. And so if you think you're coming, now would be the time to get registered. CliftonStrengthsSummit.com. And one more thing, I'll mention our Facebook group. If you want to stay active in everything that's going on Clifton Strengths, you can join the Facebook group. Facebook.com/groups/called-to-coach. Love to have you join us for a little bit of post show. Honestly, Mike and I have other plans to do another webcast on another platform here in a few minutes, so we're going to need to go. But if you're staying around, stay for the post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.